All right, we're going to go ahead and get started today. It's a lovely, uh, God, what is today? It's Tuesday. Uh, it's a lovely Tuesday afternoon. We are looking at economics. I hope everybody's doing okay and is staying safe and healthy as we work towards this last month of virtual school. We're almost there. We've got about a month left. We'll be covering economics pretty much the rest of the way. Aside from maybe like the last week or so, we'll do some review of civics just to kind of finish things off. But I wanted to go over today's lesson with you. It's a very important lesson because it's all about making good choices. And I think if you don't understand anything else that we've been covering this year, if you understand what it takes to make a good choice, a rational choice. You guys were supposed to look at some vocabulary yesterday. And I think some of the vocabulary, rational choice, cost benefit analysis, very important because whether you know it or not, every time you make a choice, you are weighing the costs and benefits of your ultimate decision. And that's what causes you to make that choice. One thing to think about is, why do we even have to make choices? Well, that goes back to the word scarcity. So because of scarcity, we have to make choices. Um, if there was no scarcity in the world, then you could just do everything and buy everything you wanted. But because of scarcity, we have to make choices. So the assignment you were looking at today is going to take you through different scenarios, and it asks you to identify the different parts of the choices. Now you'll notice, like when you look at the scenarios, it actually makes the choice for you. So all we're doing is breaking down the choices to identify the different parts of the choice. So we'll be weighing the cost, the benefits, looking at what's scarce, what's causing you to make the choice. So those are things that we'll be looking at in each scenario. And I see several, we've had a couple of people join us, so you guys welcome. I'm just doing audio, I'm not doing any video today. I want to see how that works. So I can only concentrate on my voice. But if you have any questions, you can chime in or you can type in the chat box as usual. So let's look at the first example here. All right, so it says coming home from school, you only have 2 hours before you have to begin your homework. You have to decide between spending time with a friend or watching TV. And then ultimately you're going to decide to spend time with your friend. So for each of these scenarios, we want to identify what is the scarce resource involved that's forcing us to make a choice, because that's why we make choices, because of scarcity. And then we want to look at what's called the trade-off, which is the choices involved that you're choosing between. And then ultimately the opportunity cost of the choice you made. Anytime you make a choice, you are giving up the opportunity to do something else. So if I choose A, then I've given up the opportunity that came with B. So that's what we're going to look at. All right, so the scarce resource. Who wants to identify that for me? How about you guys chime in or type it in the box there, in the chat box? What's scarce in this scenario? Nobody? All right, I'll give you this one, and then maybe you guys can warm up as we go along. So time, the time you have after school, that's scarce. Typically, if we were back in school, we would get out around 3:50. By the time you get home, you have so much time before you go to bed or before you have things to do. So you might only have a couple of hours of free time before you have to do your homework or go to bed or eat dinner or whatever. You've got to decide what you're going to do with that time. So there's scarcity involved there. So time is a resource that can be scarce. So the trade-off is pretty easy. You just look at the choices that you had in this scenario. So the scenarios are pretty specific. There's not a lot of leeway. So it's going to tell you what you're choosing between. So here, the trade-off is spending time with a friend or watching TV. So those are your two choices. And I've underlined the choice that was made. So you don't get to actually choose what choice you make. The scenario is going to tell you what the choice was. That way you can focus on identifying the opportunity cost. So this is where it gets tricky. This is what really gets people and what gets people confused is this opportunity cost. So when we're looking at opportunity cost, you want to look at the value of what you gave up. So because I'm spending time with a friend, you want to think about what opportunity did you lose out on? What did you give up? So in this case, it would have something to do with watching TV because that's not what we did. We gave that up. So it cost us that opportunity. Cost means you lost something. So when you choose something, you're giving something else up, right? If you go to the movies and there's 5 different movies playing, you go to this movie,
Don't tear up Marjorie's chair.
you miss out on the opportunity to see the other movies. Okay, so that's how we think about it. So in this case, you would be looking at the value of watching TV, and that's going to be different for everybody. So here I picked out, watching my favorite episode of something, whatever it was that I could have been looking at, right? So that's the opportunity cost, is watching my favorite TV show. Okay. Or it could have been spending time with a family member who would be watching TV with me. So there's a lot of different things you could have gotten from that. So there could be some variation in our answers depending on what it is that you value about the choice. What is it that you value about TV? So I put watching my favorite episode. So that's how you're going to do each scenario. You identify the scarce resource. You identify the choices that you're choosing between. And then once that choice has been made, what did you give up? What was the opportunity cost? So because I spent time with a friend, I missed my favorite episode on, whatever show I would have been watching. So hopefully that's not going to be too confusing. So let's go on to number 2. Once again, if you got any questions, type them in or jump on the audio and you can ask me a question. All right. Next scenario. On Saturday, you're hit with a flurry of phone calls from friends asking you to come out with them. One friend wants you to go see a movie. The other wants you to go to the water park. You only have $25, so you can't do both, and you decide to go to the movies. So what is the scarce resource we're dealing with here? Why do we have to make a choice here? What's scarce? Anybody? So obviously for this one, the scarce resource is the money. So here money is your scarce resource. You don't have enough money to do both. Okay, so that's what's scarce. Trade-offs, pretty obvious. You got the 2 choices. Going to the movie or going to the water park. Now, if you had enough money, you possibly could do both, all right? You go to the movie or go to the water park during the day, go to the movie at night, if you had enough money. But here, the scarce resource is the money. It's because you don't have enough money. That's why you have to choose. And that's what economics is about, is making choices and evaluating your choices. All right, so ultimately we do choose to go to the movie. So the opportunity cost is, well, what did we miss out on? We missed out on going to the water park. But that's actually the trade-off. So you got to evaluate that. So what could you have gotten by going to the water park? What is the value of going to the water park? And once again, we'll have variation here. It depends on, why do you go to the water park? So for me, I came up with a couple. The cool fun in the water. So that's a value. The water slides. Maybe that's what you would have gotten out of it, or fun in the sun. There's all sorts of different things as to why people go to water parks. But because we went to the movies, we gave that up. It cost us that opportunity. So opportunity cost. Make sure you understand what we're talking about there. What did we lose out on? Okay. Any questions so far? Anybody want to chime in? I'm assuming, can everyone hear me? Type something.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I was waiting for something like that. All right. Thank you. All right. So I'm going to continue. All right. Scenario 3. America annually gives out billions of dollars in international aid. The vast majority of American aid, must go to Israel, Egypt, Afghanistan, and Pakistan. With the remaining funds, the U.S. is trying to decide the last country to send aid money to between Haiti and Sudan. They decide to send money to Haiti. So the scarce resource we're dealing with here, once again, money, the government's money in particular. The trade-off is going to be deciding who to give this extra aid money to. Are we going to give it to Haiti, or are we going to give it to Sudan? And then, because we gave it to Haiti, that was the choice we made, we don't have the opportunity to give any money to Sudan. So this might be tricky, because you might think about, well, what is the value of giving money to a country? Does anybody want to go with that? What's the value of giving money to other countries? We spend billions of dollars in giving money to other countries. Why do we do it? What are we getting out of it? Anybody?
Getting allies.
Allies. Good. I think I heard allies. Very good. Who was that, Chris?
Yes.
How's it going, Chris?
Good.
All right. All right. Glad you could join us today. All right. Yeah. So gaining allies, our relationship with the Sudan, helping the Sudanese people. We don't get any benefits because we didn't help them. We didn't give them any aid. So maybe that hurts our relationship with them. And then we didn't get to help the people there in the Sudan. So we lost that opportunity. All right, next scenario. PharmaCore is a medical company which specializes in producing technology for hospitals. In their R&D, which is research and development department, two big projects come up: a hearing aid that can filter individual sounds and a fully animated prosthetic arm. The R&D department only has enough engineers to devote to one project at this time and decides to focus on the hearing aid. So what is scarce here? Why can't we do both? Why is scarcity a problem here? We don't have enough what?
Engineers.
Engineers. Very good, Brandon. Engineers. So the workers, we don't have enough labor. That's why we can't do both. So we've got to focus what resources we do have. In this case, the workers, the engineers, we got to focus them on one of the projects. So the trade-off involved is the two projects, the hearing aid or the prosthetic arm. And the scenario tells us we are devoting our resources here to that hearing aid, which means we lose the opportunity to develop that prosthetic arm. So we're missing out. We've lost the opportunity to help people who need that prosthetic arm. So that's the cost. It cost us something that we could have done. All right, moving on. Uh, all right. You are a survivor in the zombie apocalypse, and two members of your party have been bitten and are turning. One of them is a doctor, and the other is a famous celebrity. You have enough of the cure you recently discovered to cure one of those individuals, and you decide to cure the doctor because of his skill, because his skills are more needed. All right. So here, our scarce resource, the reason we're having to choose, is obviously the cure, right? So the cure for this zombie virus is what's scarce. We only have one dose left, but we got two people that need it, so you got to choose, right? So you got to kind of evaluate the trade-offs here and think about, well, if we save the doctor, we gain this. If we save the celebrity, we gain this. So that's what we're choosing between. That's our trade-offs. We choose to save the doctor. So here we are evaluating, right? You got to evaluate. Well, we've given up the opportunity to save the celebrity, and it could be any celebrity. That's kind of up to you. I chose Kevin Hart. He's one of my favorite celebrities, and I think it'd be fun to be in a zombie apocalypse with him as part of your group. But if I couldn't save him and I chose to save the doctor, then I would be giving up that fun entertainment. Possibly money could be important at this time that came along with having that celebrity in your group and saving them. So we've given that up in order to save the doctor in this scenario. Okay, any questions so far? All right, we got two more. Now these are two that I created, as we've been dealing with this over the past month here. And I think it's important to think about, why is the government making the decisions that they're making about, telling us to stay at home, shutting down schools, that type of thing. So we're going to use this exercise to kind of analyze what's going on. So as we know, the federal and state governments have issued various stay-at-home orders all over the country. Using your understanding of current events, analyze the decision made to keep people at home and away from large gatherings. So this might be tricky. Like, what is it? What is the reason behind telling us to stay home? Is there a scarce resource? What is scarce in these situations where they're telling us, they're making the choice that we want everyone to stay home? What do y'all think? Share, what do you guys know about the situation? What's scarce?
The capacity of the hospitals.
Oh, very good. So yeah, that's one of the reasons why they don't want a lot of people to go out and infect themselves, is because medical care. So that's what he was talking about there, the capacity of the hospitals. The medical care is scarce. There's only so much, so many hospitals, beds, ventilators. There's only so much capacity to help people getting infected. So we got to make the choice to try and reduce that. So the government has made these choices to tell us to stay home and to ban large gatherings because there's a scarcity of medical care. I mean, you could look at life. Your life is scarce. You don't want to go out and lose it, just because you wanted to go to the movies or, whatever. And then you could look at it a different way. Economic opportunities are scarce. That's another scarce resource involved, but that might drive you to make a different decision. A lot of people who want us to go back to normal are looking at the scarce economic resources, jobs and things, and they don't want to miss out on those opportunities. So that's why they want us to go back to normal. So there's a lot of different ways you could look at what's going on, and it depends on what do you value more? Do you value the health aspect, or do you value the economic side of what's going on? So the trade-off, of course, would be to stay home or to not stay home, restricting people, restricting businesses versus allowing life to return to normal. allowing gatherings and keeping things open. That would be the alternate choice. Um, so here's where you can kind of look at the other side of the argument. Because they've chosen to restrict people and businesses, so what is it that we're missing out on? What is it that is being lost because of the choice that has been made? So what is the opportunity cost that we are enduring right now? Yutzel, you want to try? Shania, I see you're here too. What have we given up by staying at home? All right. So mental health. So a lot of people think that, the staying at home has kind of worsened a lot of people's mental health. So we've given up good mental health, I guess you could say. We've given up the benefits of having a robust economy. We've lost that. We've lost a sense of normalcy. So that's what the opportunity cost has been because of the choice made to shut things down. That's what we are losing out on is, and it affects everyone, differently, of course, but some people are losing mental health. Some people are losing physical fitness. Some people are losing, of course, if you're a business owner, the economy is bad, so you're losing out on economic opportunities. And then everyone's missing out on this idea of what's normal. We've all lost that because of the choices that have been made. Okay, any questions on that one? So we got the last one here. The last one is specifically about school. So we know now my scenario takes it a different way, but we know by now that schools are going to stay closed. But here in this scenario, Governor Cooper ordered that schools shut down until May 15th to help stop the spread of COVID-19. The governor must decide, and he's already decided, whether or not to open schools again. Now here, hypothetically, assuming that the governor did open schools again, analyze the choice. But we could talk about both ways. So the scarce resource, once again, we're dealing with that medical care because the idea is that we got to think about students getting sick. If we're going to gather at school, that's a lot of people confined in these classrooms. It's easy to get sick. So we're looking at health. We're also looking at education and time, the time that you have to get your education. That's scarce. You don't want it to, you don't want to spend too much time more than you need to in school. So time is a factor too. We're losing out on valuable educational time. So there's a lot of scarce resources involved into making this decision. And of course, the decision was to open schools or to keep schools closed. In this hypothetical, let's say that he decided to open schools and we all go back May 15th. Okay, so if we did go back to school on May 15th, the opportunity cost, did I not change this one? I don't think I changed this one. Oh crap, I got to go back and tweak that. All right, so the opportunity cost. So if they did open schools, what do you think we'd be missing out on? We'd lose the opportunity for what? That answer was wrong. I copy and pasted and I forgot to change it. So let's think about it. If we did go back to school, what would be lost? Anybody want to try that one? I mean, I guess you could say, you know, the opportunity to be at home, helping your family out, the opportunity to stay safe and healthy. You kind of lose that. You put yourself at more risk by going back to school too early. It really depends on what value have you gotten by staying at home. Maybe some of you are working, so you have to give that up. Maybe, you know, maybe some of you had gotten a job during this time and are making some money. So if we went back to school, you'd be giving that up, that opportunity to work that job. It really depends on what your value, what value do you see at staying at home and not going to school. So if we reversed it and look at what actually was happening, keep schools closed, then the opportunity cost would have been you're missing out on the education that you would have gotten by going to school in person. So that would be the opposite answer there. So I apologize for that little typo. I forgot to finish that last part of the slide. So I'll just keep it blank. So does anybody have a question? Did y'all get that? So once again, the opportunity cost is whatever the value is you get of being at home during this time. So if we went back to school, that would be over. So you would lose that opportunity to stay at home and, you know, maybe have a job, maybe sleep in more, play more video games, whatever positive benefits you see of staying at home versus being at school. That's what you would lose in this scenario. Everybody got it? That's our last example. So I thank you for joining me. And if you've got any questions, always hit me up. I'm always available. Any last questions before we sign off? All right, you guys take it easy.